Welcome to another Sales Wisdom Pod. We have Justin Michael with us. It's not our first interview. Justin Michael is mentor of mine. He's done the SDR method in a new way. I first read about his methods and about him about 2 to 3 years ago. Really revolutionized how I did outbound. Justin is known for calls, doing very effective calls at scale, but I've learned a lot as well from him writing cold emails in a brand new way. Justin is the author of multiple books, all bestsellers on Amazon. Attraction Selling is his latest one, but he's also the author of Sales Superpowers and Tech Powered Sales, which is a book that powered me throughout my SDR agency's career. So, Justin, welcome to the pods. Tell me what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to reconnect, Charles. It's great that I had that impact on you, and I've been, keeping on, just grinding, just working with great clients. And the thing is, it's gotten to the point now where a lot of these techniques I worked on in 2007 or 2017, and the next generation, I'm 44, but these millennials and Gen Z come and they look at the techniques and they say, "Wow, yeah, your stuff looks like what's out there." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's because I invented some of these." And you can't really patent an email technique or a cold call opener, but I feel like Eddie Van Halen with the two-finger tapping. I've just influenced a lot of people directly or inadvertently, and that's what's so cool about open sourcing the method. So lately I've been getting a lot into metaphysics and visualization, meditation, modalities of the law of attraction, because I find that 95% of success is really the subconscious mind, and you need to reprogram it. You need to change your self-image to really perform in this industry, because outbound is so rejection dense. You're going after a six-figure deal, seven-figure deal, and you've got issues in your head or issues in your core, and it's very hard to perform uh, holistically and sustainably. And so that's why I decided to go in a different direction.
Right. One of my mentor, Ben Greenfield, he's a biohacker and he's done like amazing work in the biohacking world. And he recently, all his three latest books were about spirituality and the power of God, and sometimes we're surprised by that. It's like it went from science to pseudoscience, sort of. That's like the negative side of it. But the other side you're saying is that most people can't sell for the shit of them because they're too much in their heads and have too much demons preventing them from applying any of these techniques, right?
Yeah, so it's kind of the medicine. People ask me how I was able to survive for 23 years doing prospecting. And I think I prospect, as much as more to this day, because I just see it as having a conversation. I pick good humans, like the way you and I met, and just start a real conversation. Like, be inquisitive, be curious about your business and your pains and challenges and your aspirations and where are you going, and just take the attention off myself. The goal isn't to use the email mechanic or the phone mechanic to trick you into taking your time. It's to find a way to show curiosity and interest in you. And that's like love. That's like a beam. Very few people are genuinely there and care about what you have to say. We all know those people. We love being around those people. It could be a family member or a teacher or a friend. So I think Jay Abraham said it best. He said, "If you're the most interested person in the world, you're the most interesting." And there's a quote on this too, um, from Dale Carnegie too, that you can just make huge progress in business. So that's been the shift. Really, we all have this profit motive, the commission breath to like close the deal. And from the Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort's, and there's that feeling of like the tactic, the straight line, and controlling the sale. And what you mentioned of like just letting go and letting God in sales is like just going with the flow and being there with the person, slowing down and seeing where the road takes you. It shouldn't be that revolutionary, but I haven't seen that spiritual approach really applied to selling, not recently.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either. I've seen some good stuff in there. So the music, like the specific frequency, the sleep, taking care of yourself, meditating. I don't often see sales people get into that. They're all burnout cobbled messes basically. That's what I'm seeing. They're all red in their faces and they're just overworking too much themselves while not being that productive. So what would be some methods that you would suggest that are not conventional, quote unquote?
Yeah, so it gets quite out there in this book. I talk about like when's the last time you just went down to the beach or a lake or a forest, just put your feet in dirt. It's called earthing. But there's like a Schumann resonance that comes out of the earth. There's literally a vibration that your DNA that can reset you on a cellular level, whether it's you believe in that or not. I mean, there's positive things to being in nature, clearing your mind. So people are always looking for, how can I stay up all late, stay up all night and program clay.com with the perfect personalization? I'm like, get a good night of sleep, relax, read something that's not a sales book, right? That's a good Scott Lee's angle. In the book, I talk about my inability to meditate. And so, one, I stopped drinking coffee. And that was something Dave Goggins did. And even if you have it a little bit, like before bed, between that beta state of concentration and that alpha or theta state of falling asleep, is when your subconscious mind is very susceptible to auto-suggestion. So in that imagining, visualizing, kind of like, athletes run the race in their mind, or F1 racers, they study the track, they'll drive it a bunch, and then in their head, they'll simulate it over and over again. And so slowing down, calming the mind, going to that serene, peaceful place and rolling through that massive deal you're trying to close, or rolling through a visualization of landing that dream client or that hard meeting and just running it as if it's already achieved. That's where I'm fusing, the law of attraction with sales. And the word attraction has the word action. So that was what was missed in The Secret, but it's in there. But people just thought, I'm just going to sit in a room and dream about President's Club or a Ferrari. The other big one is giving. Like if all we want is material and money for ourselves, it's a limited view. It's really like the law of love or the law of reciprocity. Like you have to go out and give things. Like what are we doing in SaaS? We're getting a product and service into that business so they can achieve a far better state and they can make an ROI. And as like sales development people, we get caught up in like these vanity metrics, like the amount of meetings and the amount of opportunities, right? But we got to create customers who see the value. And that's really where the satisfaction of our jobs comes. And that's what prevents the burnout is the service ultimately at the end.
Right. And how you feel to your counterparts as well. If you're well put together, if you're different, if you feel calm and zen when you talk to other people, I think that's underestimated. VS the classic go 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 sales type of personality. I mean, it's cool to look energetic and all, but I feel that you feel different. I feel different when I speak to people. It does repel some people away. They're like, who's this fucking guru? But I do think that a lot of people also view this as different and unconventional. What do you have to say to that?
Yeah, it's just who you're being is very powerful in terms of with your colleagues or your clients. Like all the data points to the reason people buy is the experience with the seller. So a person that is not multitasking on the smartphone, is not talking over them, is not blasting PowerPoint slides, is just like I talk about the doctor, the detective, or the therapist, which comes from Jeff Tull and other systems. Now, there's also just deep listening, just being with someone and trying to really intuit what's going on, reading behind the words, sensing their emotion, sensing what's going on. And that level of, empathy, like Chris Voss calls it tactical empathy. When I listen to a lot of discovery calls, I hear the process. I hear them rattling through the medic or going through BANT or, a very process-driven approach. The prospect senses that and kind of shuts off or presents what's safe. And you don't really get the opening of the lotus, right? You don't get that moment where they say, hey, like this is what's really going on. Like we're having this issue with my boss, or this vendor is, not coming through. And there's a big argument that we have to do so much research on the prospects, right? In what we do, like top of funnel. And the problem is you can't really learn anything in the annual report on LinkedIn because once you call in, you get them to open up. They're like, yeah, we almost fired this vendor, and there's this political thing happening in the company, and we had this problem with the engineering team. And this isn't like insider trading, it's insider baseball. So like my phone techniques are based on you listening to the client, to the prospect in the beginning, and that gives you the ammo to tailor it later, right? And my direct messaging techniques throughout the series is based on personal, professional, left brain, right brain, and sending a signal of a holistic conversation. So yeah, I mean, I've had a blast. We've turned this into a three-part series, and it just runs the gamut. And it gets as crazy as the law of attraction, just visualizing what you want to see happen. My story is kind of wild. Like I tested out of high school when I was 16. I did get a diploma. So when I got to Silicon Valley after 10 years in incubators, it was like Salesforce was turning me down, LinkedIn was turning me down. And I visualized, I did this process called musifestation at musifestation.com. You can read the white paper. And I went from 45K to 100K gig working for Sean Parker, like within a couple months. And it came in a weird way through investors that knew him, right? And then over the years, I became one of the top VP of SaaS sales in mobile. And now in the last 4 years, I've become, one of the top executive coaches and trainers in the world, right alongside some other very well-known people. So I'm just humbled by the whole thing, but it all started in my mind. And the entire time, people were telling me, you can't do it, you're not qualified. How dare you try to do this? And I just keep on, living the vision.
What feedback are you getting from attraction selling so far? Do you feel it's an opening door, or do you use the techniques to open the door and then go deep with the attraction selling?
Yeah, I mean, I think the world's ready for it. I have like 75 all 5-star reviews so far. People have written some very profound things. It's really about loving yourself and getting rid of your resentments and cleaning your inner house so you can go out there and interface with people. Also, what we do is prone to a lot of politics, and it's prone to a lot of self-doubt and, self-abuse in a way, because we just get so beat up by the rejection and the prospects, and sometimes even the internals of SaaS companies can be corrupt. It's very hard to advance. You can feel downtrodden. So, I go to a psychotherapist, and I think that's great. But I think like even beyond mental health is like who you are as a soul, right? We're not our thoughts, we're not our mind, and we're not our body. We're some energy behind it, some consciousness. We can look at that as quantum mechanics. Everyone can look at that in their own way. I give everyone the liberty to perceive God or the universe, but not leveraging that inside of selling. It's like this amazing storehouse, this infinite power that you could tap. And I think a lot of people just do it subconsciously. Like when you see these natural top performers, they're kind of embodying all these things, but I don't think they're aware of it. It's like learning about yourself and learning how to harness these universal laws and put them into, effect. It's really going to help you accomplish things a lot faster, enjoy it a lot more, have a lot more peace and mental sanity, for sure.
Right. And I've seen like, yeah, that you go to this psychotherapist. What traumas do you feel you were carrying with you in the sales world, and how did evaporating these traumas get you more sales basically?
Well, if you think from like a Freudian or Jungian approach, just about everyone has traumas before the age of 7 or 4. So like that's stuff that I think everyone has to work on that are hidden. I would say I had a great childhood and good parents, so I've been more than fortunate, right? But I came out of the music business, and I had drumline style hard mentors. So like my guitar teacher was like super harsh and like very strict and rigorous on learning scales and modes and themes, and I got very good at this stuff, but it was so much pressure, right? So the truth is that it's not by being hardcore or like David Goggins. David Goggins is actually pretty chill and loving if you really listen to all his stuff. But that voice in your head can't be whipping you. It's got to be soft and gentle. So you kind of become a gentle giant. You kind of watch the customer get negative, and you're the solver. You're calm, right? You're the adult in that relationship. You're the guru, if you will. And then you start to change the negative self-talk. So I really love 50 Cent in the 50th Law, where he wrote a book with Robert Greene, like 48 Laws of Power and 50 Cent. This guy got shot in the face 9 times. And he has this exercise kind of in the book, which I adapted to mine, where he just looks at everything in life. Like once he lived through being shot 9 times in the face, he was like, there's nothing I can't do. Was all a downhill run. I work with a lot of service people. People came out of the military and they come to civilian life and they often crush it. They often have some PTSD too. So what it is like everything that's a weakness, flip it to your strength, right? So if you've hopped around jobs a lot, okay, you're versatile. If you don't have a college degree, okay, you're in the school of hard knocks, right? You got to work on yourself, but there's ways to see your weaknesses as strengths. And everybody has God-given gifts and talents. So I'd say like therapy is a forever process, but coaching is really like people are on a default future and I work with them and I shift who they are internally, like deep down, their perception of themselves, and then the world changes. And that's how I can claim that people are making 2 to 5x the income. We're all on a half base. We're all making, 50K, 100K, 100K, 200K on the split. And this guy told me, he's like, you can't claim that. I'm like, well, it actually is what happens. Because once someone realizes their own power and their potential and their own genius, it's really crazy what starts to happen when the confidence is real and coming from within versus an insecurity.
You quoted a couple of times Goggins in there, and yeah, I've read your stories of yeah, like being caught in waves, falling from horses, and all of that. That's pretty
Yeah.
intense before 22 and being robbed in Costa Rica. Do you go Goggins on yourself sometimes? Do you feel that it helps to just go crunch a very long run when you're not being your full and best self?
I have very few moments of negativity now in my life. I like less than ever before. Um, I have moments where I might feel sad, but they pass. It's just I can separate a thought from my own identity, and I know that that thought is not me, and I can question the thought. And that's the process developed by Byron Katie and Eckhart Tolle talks about staying in the presence, and also Sid Banks, who's like this enlightened Scottish welder who created the three principles. I've just seen that over and over again. So I'm more and more detached from form and more living behind as the observer. uh, there's still frustration and challenges, but I have a tool set through what I've shared in this book where if I'm feeling down, then I'll put on music to relax myself, to change my state, something Tony Robbins talks about. And if there's a negative self-talk coming in, I'll flip that around and I'll affirm the opposite. And usually your reactive subconsciousness, you look at that and then you can 10 seconds later look at, is that logical? Right? It's like when you feel like I'm not worthy, you can then look and be like, well, yeah, I am. Look at all that I've done in my life and just concentrate. For people that are consultants and coaches and entrepreneurs, like read your recommendations on your LinkedIn profile. Look at your testimonials. That's not conceit. That's just to remind your own ego, like, hey, I have provided a lot of value. Because I work with a lot of people who are trying to side hustle and kick off new businesses, and they're just like, I can't do what you do, Justin. I'm like, what did I do? Like my CV is a mess. Go to Crunchbase, look at Justin Michael. Like I'm not impressive, right? Like some people have many exits like Scott Leese, but read his book. He went through a ton of different trials with health and he's been through the war and back too. So the beauty is like your life is led in a certain way, and there's a lot of genius and strength in that life if you yourself choose to see it, and then you can go leverage it to help other people. Maybe all that bad stuff happened to you so that you can be wise and help others who are going through that right now.
How do you stay true to yourself? A lot of us cells can corrupt us. Capitalism can corrupt us. How do you stay true to your values?
Yeah, I mean that's why I just like wear these animal hats and I'm just kind of a humble, down to earth guy. It's the Abraham Maslow to be independent of the good opinion of others. Like that book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, right? Like you reach a point in life where it's not that you've let yourself go, but you just really can authentically be your true self at all times. And I've done these really loud books and had crazy titles on the robot face. And I have haters out there, but everyone that actually comes in and just talks to me and interfaces with me one to one is just like, wow, this is a down to earth person that is helping. This is person bringing light and trying to make the world better. And I just live that. And I love people like Dale Dupree. That's just who he is. He's just trying to make the world better. We're different people. So my advice to you is everything you're searching for in this character of the rock star seller or consultant or entrepreneur, like that is just trappings. Like everything you're dressing up, your core of who you really are is just limiting you. Like when you truly are just who you really are, own your story, you aren't your story, but you own it and the lessons you've learned, then everyone is attracted to that like a magnet because you're not hiding or putting on airs or putting up a front, fake it till you make it, none of that stuff. So for me, like the journey from making 45K a year and being 31 years old and this CFO saying, Justin, if you ever realize what you have, you'll be a millionaire, to going solo 4 years ago and passing the seven-figure mark, it to me it's service. Like the Bob Berg Go Giver and Ian Arena has been great to be, but also Ian Cognac recommended Go Giver by Bob Berg. And I read that parable, similar to the Tony Hughes Joshua Principle parable. And I just was like, okay, that's it. Like I surrender. Like I'm just going to help people. I'm going to get on this call. I pretend I already was paid $500 and just give this person everything I got without trying to have that chip to close. And I saw that in a book by Melissa Ford called Living in Service. But it's pretty crazy what starts to happen when you eliminate that closing gene, right? That deep-seated ulterior motive to always be running the play. Because the better you get at sales, the more you can manipulate and work the call because you have all these tactics. So you have to like untrain yourself to just be with people and see where they go.
In your case, what's next for you? Is it keep on authoring more book, coaching more folks?
Man,
Do you feel this is your calling?
you ask amazing questions, man, and straight up the middle. I appreciate it. Every day I just try to serve one person at a time. Everyone's asking me, where's the YouTube channel? Where's the Hermosi? Where's the scale? Hit 2 million, hit 5 million, all this stuff, right? But I think that's the paradox of it is that I've got this series of books, probably written a legacy here. I could probably push these 3 books for the next until 2030. Tons of content. Um, law of attraction, right? I've just been holding to a vision and seeing like how can I really help people even more profoundly and powerfully. Some of the best coaches I know in the world, they make 5,000 in 2 hours, they make 100,000 a year, $200,000 a year. I just want to work with someone and radically transform their life as I've been transformed working with people like Tony Hughes. And I know that if I just do that, just change one life, like Mother Teresa said, that's going to give me the most growth, referrals, and abundance. So yeah, I do have a big vision, but I'm not attached to it because, attaching to it, like, what we resist persists. It tends to push it away. So it's like the miracles are coming. And so like that's what's so great about a life of service. And it's one thing to say it and another thing to do it, but it feels good. Like all the joy and the relief of suffering in this life is helping other people. So find that in your role or find a company where you could do that, where there's a mission and it won't feel like work and you'll experience great relief from suffering.
Love that. Where again, people find out more about you.
Just go to Amazon and put in Justin Michael or on LinkedIn. I don't really have a dedicated website to the coaching stuff because it's all bespoke. I like to stay a little mysterious. Just right, that's me being different. And yeah, I'd be honored if you read my book and gave a candid review. Appreciate this, Charles.